What's up, guys? Rail here. We gotta talk about this. So, in the big wild world of AAA game development, you would think that when a company spends a couple $100 million on a project that faceplants so hard it leaves a crater, they would take a minute. Pause, reflect, maybe learn a lesson or two. A costly mistake in theory is supposed to be the best teacher, but then you get a situation like the one we're seeing with Warner Bros., a situation that just makes you scratch your head and wonder if anyone is actually paying attention over there. Because the news recently broke that WB is staffing up for another live service game right after the absolute undeniable, well-documented implosion of Suicide Squad killed the Justice League. Dude, I'm in the middle of working on the biggest video I've ever made. I'm working on some really long form video essay about something. But before I got to work on that, as I normally do, I go to videogameschronicle.com and see what's going on. And this just completely derailed me. But anyways, this isn't just a weird business move. It's a genuinely fascinating, almost pathological adherence to a strategy that just blew up in their faces. It just makes you ask some serious questions about who's making the decisions over there and what kind of data are they looking at. So we're going to dive into this because it's a story about a lot more than just one game. It's about the weird corporate psychology that leads to a massive company to look at a fire they just barely put out and decide, you know what we should do? Throw more money at it. Okay, just so we're all on the same page about what's happening, here's the report that completely threw me off track today. Now, I found this on Video Games Chronicle, written by Jordan Middler, who wrote, "Despite the high-profile failure of Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League, Warner Bros. Is hiring for a new live service game. Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League was released last year and met with middling reviews and fan backlash. Developed by Batman Arkham Studio Rocksteady, the game's live service approach and take on the DC universe left fans unhappy, leading to weak sales and small player numbers. Now, a job listing for an upcoming project from Warner Bros. Games suggests the company isn't finished with its attempt to establish a live service title in the DC universe. The job listing for an executive producer says that the successful applicant will lead the development of a high-quality AAA game based on one of the iconic IPs from the vast Warner Bros. And DC Comics catalog. The job listing notes that the role includes overseeing all phases of development from concept to post-launch live operations, suggesting a live service element to the mystery project. The project comes during a tumultuous time at the publisher, following a string of high-profile flops. Warner Bros. Interactive's president David Haddad announced in February that he was leaving the company. Haddad's exit follows a challenging year for Warner Bros. Games division, which includes the disappointing launches of Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League and the relaunch and eventual shuttering of Multiverses. This led to Warner Bros. CEO David Zaslav highlighting the game's division as a weak link for the company in its most recent financial results, where he said it was substantially underperforming its potential. Warner Bros. Discovery has said planning a follow-up to 2023's hit Hogwarts Legacy is a priority for the company. The Harry Potter spinoff was 2023's best-selling game, ahead of The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. I'll leave the link to the article in the description if you want to read it for yourself. But yeah, so there it is in black and white. Now, the news that Warner Bros. Is once again pursuing a live service game is more than just a questionable business decision. It is a profoundly troubling indicator of a deep-seated rot within the upper echelons of AAA game publishing. It speaks to a corporate culture so insulated from its audience, so mesmerized by financial abstractions and the siren song of recurring revenue, that it seems incapable of learning from even its most costly and public mistakes. This move is not a sign of resilience or bold vision. It's a testament to a dangerous cyclical pattern of flawed logic, a fundamental misunderstanding of the creative process, and a startling disregard for the very consumers they aim to attract. We're witnessing a narrative collapse where the story the corporation tells itself about value, risk, and success has become completely detached from the reality of the market it serves. To see a major publisher armed with some of the most valuable intellectual property in the world so willingly to return to a failed strategy is to witness a profound failure of leadership and imagination. To really get our heads around how wild this is, we have to do a full autopsy on what even happened with Suicide Squad. This wasn't just a game that was okay or a little disappointing. This was a project that felt fundamentally broken from the moment it was revealed as a live service shooter. I mean, dude, think about it. Rocksteady Studios, these are the guys who gave us the Batman Arkham series. Like, these dudes are masters of a very specific kind of game. Like, a tightly designed, atmospheric, single-player adventure with a great story. They know how to build a world, how to piece a narrative, how to make you feel like Batman. And what did WB have them do? Make a 4-player co-op looter shooter with gear scores and seasonal content? Dude. The very core of the project was a rejection of everything the studio was known for and good at. The design philosophy of a game like Arkham Knight is about creating specific, memorable moments and a story with a beginning, middle, and end. The philosophy of a live service game is about creating systems, repeatable, endless systems to keep you on a hamster wheel. Those two things just don't mix, and you could feel that conflict in every part of the final product. It was this weird, jarring mix of Rocksteady's cinematic polish and a gameplay loop that felt like a bad Destiny clone at best, I guess. I don't know. But then there's the market. The idea of launching a new live service game these days is, to put it mildly, an uphill battle. This isn't some wide open field of opportunity. It's a war zone, dude. You have these giant, deeply entrenched kings of the hill like Fortnite, Apex Legends, Warzone, Genshin Impact. I mean, these aren't just games anymore. They're hobbies, dude. They're social spaces where people have invested thousands of hours and, in some cases, thousands of dollars. They've got friend groups built around them. Asking a player to switch from one of those games to your new thing isn't like asking them to see a different movie this weekend. It's like asking them to move to a new city. You're asking them to abandon the digital life they've built, to even have a chance. Your game can't just be good, man. It has to be phenomenal, bro. You just can't release just mid-tier. You just can't. It's got to be ridiculous. It's got to be earth-shattering. Look, it needs to have a flawless launch, a content roadmap planned out for years, and a marketing budget the size of a small country's GDP. I'm not joking. And even then, you're probably going to fail. Just look at the body count. Anthem, Marvel's Avengers, Babylon's Fall, Crucible, Lawbreakers. Those are some pretty deep cuts, huh? I went way back. But anyways, they were all big budget attempts from major publishers, and all of them are dead, son. For WB to look at the landscape, at the graveyard of ambition, and think their creatively compromised shooter was going to be one of the breakthrough games, it's just hubris. And the final fatal blow for Suicide Squad was how it treated the DC universe. Specifically the Arkhamverse. This was a world that fans loved, a world that Rocksteady itself had spent a decade building. That should have been the game's biggest strength. Instead, they used it as a sacrificial lamb. The story decisions, especially what they did with Batman, felt less like a bold narrative choice and more like a cynical attempt to get a reaction or something. It was garbage. It was a slap in the face to the fans who had invested so much in that world. You know what it was like? It was like they were burning down their own house to collect the insurance money, They alienated their core audience, the people who should have been their biggest advocates, before the game was even out. The numbers on Steam told the whole story, a tiny blip of interest at launch, followed by a free fall into irrelevance, with player counts dropping below Rocksteady's own decade-old single-player games. Think about that. The market didn't just whisper its opinion, it screamed it. And yet, it seems like nobody at Warner Bros. Was listening. This new job listing, this move to greenlight another live service project, it shows that the people in charge are not learning from their mistakes. They're doubling down on the exact same flawed thinking that led to the Suicide Squad disaster in the first place. And that thinking is always about the same old thing, recurrent revenue. Look, man, in the world of corporate finance, the live service model is the dream. I get it. It's not about making a great game that sells a lot of copies at once. It's about creating a product that generates a steady, predictable, never-ending stream of money from battle passes, cosmetic skins, and all the other things you can sell. That kind of predictable income looks amazing on quarterly reports to shareholders. It smooths out the financial charts. But the problem is when that business model stops being a way to support a great game and starts becoming the blueprint for the game. The desire for recurring revenue is now dictating the creative choices, and the result is a product that feels less like a work of art and more like a spreadsheet come to life. The cart isn't just before the horse, it's dragging the horse's carcass down the road, bro. This leads to what you would call data-driven delusion. The executives see the billions of dollars that a game like Fortnite makes, and they think it's a simple formula that they can copy. They get a checklist like battle pass, check. Item shop, check. Seasonal updates, check. They see the data that says live service games can be very profitable, but they ignore all the context around the data. They just don't seem to understand that the success of the big players isn't just because of their business model. It's because they had a unique idea, a spark of creativity, a cultural moment that you just can't manufacture it in a series of meetings, man. They're mistaking the monetization mechanics for the reason the game is successful in the first place. They think that if they build the same kind of store, the success will just magically follow. And what's really ironic is that this whole strategy is supposed to be about reducing risk, but launching a massive 9-figure live service game into a saturated market is arguably the single riskiest thing you can do in the games industry today. The failure rate is astronomical, son. Look, dude, I can ramble about this for days. Literally. I mean, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, dudes, you guys have Harry Potter. You did amazing work with Hogwarts Legacy. Just do it again. Dude, just make the sequel, son. Just make the sequel, guys. But what the heck do I know? I'm just a dude reading some random articles on the internet, shouting into a mic. I don't know that much, I guess. Whatever, dude. Look, I'm going to get back to the essay I'm writing right now. Hope you guys like it. I should have it done by the end of the week, hopefully. It's a big one. But you know what, WB? Prove me wrong. Maybe they might drop the next one, right? This might be the best. Yeah, right. I'm so done with live service games. I'm so over that trash. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you got something out of it. And I'll be talking to you real soon. Have an awesome one. Take care.